How about drums? An instrument everybody loves. Let's get down to the beat, to the beat.
Hanging with Nate the drummer.
Hanging with Nate the drummer.
All right, everybody. We're here with Dean Cramer.
Yo, hey, I
buddy.
love your intro.
You like that?
Did you do that?
Yeah, that's what my daughter and I have. Music Maker Jam is it's an app on your phone.
Wow.
And it's like a mixing studio. You would love it. You can do vocals. They give you sound clips, and you're a producer. You know, you up the levels. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's just something you can do on your phone versus your laptop or whatever.
Yeah, so I did that. Yeah, that was all for my phone. That's why technology's great, you know. It's like I made the video, I made the, you know, I'm a graphic artist, so
there you
make
go.
all my art, and you know.
Okay, so you
damn
don't know what you're doing, but it is nice to have a program that's actually easy for the musician to use.
Yeah, I have a associate's degree in multimedia design, but it's fairly obsolete. I graduated from that in '99, you know, and technology is like, you know, so I'm a dinosaur. But
I was going to say, wait, what did you do with all your CD-ROMs?
You don't even know. I had to recently struggle to pack up all my CDs.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to take them to Tom's Music Trade. Shout out to Tom's, and they're still sitting next to me because I can't do it. You know, years of music that I've collected. You know,
well, I mean, can you not transfer the stuff easily or no?
I mean, a lot of it, realistically, Spotify now you have pretty much everything. You know, and when I was doing that, I was sitting there like, okay, I'd pull out, you know, whatever and try to see if it was on Spotify, and some were, and some weren't. You know, so I'm like, it's just a CD, you know, but the artwork, you know how it goes.
Oh, yeah,
from the school of art and music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, growing up, I don't know how old you are, but you know, of course, I grew up. Well, I'm sure we're both old enough to have grown up on the artwork of the records. Yeah. Eventually, it got shrunk down, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's definitely something that's missing from certainly now. But again, you know, you hate to say it, but the kids don't know any different because they never experienced it. Either that
it's a single world.
It's a single world, and again, there's not a whole lot of purchasing. It's like it's all like you said, it's all download. I have all mine. On my iTunes, I think I have 25,000 songs. So, and of course, but 99% of them came from my CDs. You know, straight off, I burned them from there so I could actually have them. Actually, probably about 10 years ago, I was getting ready to head over to England to go ahead and do some shows, and I didn't want to be there without my music. So originally, I had transferred them all from CDs. I kind of made compilation, burn a bunch of CDs, and I had like four heavy notebooks of like 200 CDs or whatever. And then I'm like, this is crazy. So then we went to Best Buy. I spent $400 and I bought the largest iPad, or I mean iPod. Yeah. So I think it was like whatever 200 or 150 maybe, something like that is all the bigger it was. But it held basically, you know, I filled it up. But again, now all of a sudden I had this. You know, I just like to have it with me on my phone. I'll buy memory cards. I just like to have that stuff. And I'm just honestly, I'm not a big streaming guy as far as what everybody else is. My wife does it. Everybody else. Spotify, whatever it is. And I have the option to do it, but I kind of, maybe it's that old school where you go, I think everything I want to hear, I have with me. So, you know, and you kind of go back to hear, you know, I mean, hey, if you want to hear the Kicks Blow My Fuse, you know, there's a good chance you probably grew up with it. And you want to hear the rest of the record, and then maybe you bought it, and you kind of go back to those days or whatever, all that stuff. But I know I'm not a complete dinosaur, but nonetheless,
it's tough. You kind of keep up with the times. I think, you know, if you still want to be relevant, unfortunately, it's like fine, you know, just like it's always been with albums, cassettes, 8-track. You know what I mean? I think the generations have always felt that. You know?
Well, I'm sure our parents felt the same thing. My parents grew up in the 50s. So, with their idea, of course, 45s, which I still grew up on that through the 70s, as it were. But then eventually, and once CDs came out, everybody had to rebuy everything so you could have it. But then you kind of miss those little. I always remember the beginning of our copy of Kiss's Rock and Roll Over. It started off, in the morning, I raised my head. And of course, you hear a little snap, crackle, pop every now and again. But then it would actually skip like from the end of one line right to the next instead of that little break in there. And that's how I grew up listening to the song. I knew it wasn't correct because you'd hear it correct elsewise. But anyway, you kind of, it's weird to go, yeah, I kind of miss those imperfections. But, same token, I love the sound of a CD. I don't have a problem with that either. But it's almost like everything's ultra def. And you go, but it loses that digital versus analog, whether sonically or with a photo. It loses that warmth where digitally now you have to kind of put that back into the photo because it's too crystal clear. That's not how we see things, or listen to a recording and watch it in a live band. Live band's great because you can get away with murder live. I might play a terrible note or sing something terrible. It's come and gone. Unless somebody's recording it, of course.
Exactly.
The record, you're like, hey, no, do it again, that kind of stuff. So,
and that's what
we live in.
People don't realize the hard work that goes into just making one song, let alone a catalog. And so for people who don't know, tell people your history in music, how you got started, and
all that good old stuff. Mine started back in. To give a semi recap, actually back in 9th grade. So that was probably, I think, like 79. I'm 55 right now. So I've been doing this for like about 42 years. So if somebody comes on and goes, hey, you're pretty good, I'm like, I hope I'm something by now. I'm either pretty good or you're really good or really bad. Who knows? But nonetheless, so I started off with that, just 4 different kids who got together, who basically, listened to different stuff. We had a bass player who brought in, again, none of us knew each other because we just, small town, but we were still all spread out. And we happened to come together with that. But the bass player loved, he brought in Judas Priest, Unleashed at the East. That was kind of like, hey, here's a band I like. And then the drummer brought in Rush, whatever album that would have been, at the time prior to, I guess, Permanent Waves or whatever. And then me and the other guitar player who I still play with today, acoustically wise, and do stuff. We were both big Kiss fans. So that was kind of, so you had Priest, Kiss, and Rush, and of course I was one of those guys who goes, there's no way that this Neil guy is better than Peter Criss. There's no way, But by the same token, but I go, of course, as you become more acquainted and knowledgeable, but you realize that it's apples and oranges, as it were, because Peter Criss is perfect for Kiss and what he played was great.
Yep.
So, Neil wouldn't sound good in there and Peter wouldn't sound good in there, just 2 different things and stuff. So anyway, and oddly enough, even slightly before that, I actually grew up wanting to be a drummer because I was a huge Osmonds fan. Which really doesn't have anything to do with drums, but I like music at a really young age. Osmonds were my catalyst for really getting into music as a big picture stuff, and so I've been a lifelong fan of them. It's crazy, but anyway, so getting in my first band, for some reason they had me as a singer, so no drums, and I don't even know why the singer aspect. And then the only reason why I ever started playing guitar, not this one, but the only reason why I ever started doing that was because we needed some rhythm guitars or different parts on, like Detroit. Like I said, so we needed a second harmony guitar player. That's funny. So I still remember that after like 42 years, even though I haven't played it in a band in probably 35 or 40 years. So anyway, but that's the only reason why I ever picked up a guitar. Was that, and of course, then I just kind of pursued that. And even as a singing wise, I personally prefer to sing harmonies. I like harmonies more than singing lead. But so that went through multiple bands. Eventually, in 95, 96, whenever Steve Whiteman, lead singer from KIX, went ahead. KIX had broken up for probably about a year or so, and his general comments are like, okay, what do I do now? Do I start another band or do I go get a job? And I guess he probably debated the job thing and goes, nope. So he goes, I'm going to start a band. So I happened to, at the time, he was also giving vocal lessons. So I'm born and raised in Cumberland, Maryland, Western Maryland. And so I saw his ad, and of course I was a big Kix fan back then. Every time they come through, I'd certainly go see him out the Cumberland Fairgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But again, never met him or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So he had an ad in Maryland Musician Wise that said, "Hey, you know, lead singer from Kix giving vocal lessons." Like every time I've seen this guy go ahead and perform, he's always been stellar. So I'm like, okay, right. So I want to go ahead and do some, you know, get better at my craft. So I went and I started taking lessons. So then we started talking, and then he kind of find out, you know, that I play guitar, and he said, "Well, hey, I'm working on some originals. Would you be interested in maybe come down and playing some guitars for him, whatever?" And I'm like, "Sure." So, you know, he still lives in Hagerstown, same place. Mm. And so anyway, so I'd go down there and start to record for him. And his, you know, I don't think I did any rhythms because he kind of already had that done himself. But so I did solos for maybe about like 2 or 3, 4 songs on there, which ended up being on the first Funny Money record. But anyway, so he goes, "Wow, I knew you could play guitar, but I didn't know you could play that well." And it's like, okay, well, cool. So he really liked what I did. And he had already started up a band together, but it was a 4-piece, just as a guitar, bass, drums, and him. And he's like, "You know, I'm so used to hearing Brian and Ronnie 2 guitars all the time. For him, it was just sonically a little bit weird." And they, of course, were doing Kix stuff, but the idea was that they would only do Kix songs that he had something to do with writing wise, which in a nutshell, he wasn't allowed to do a whole lot of writing with the band, if you know much about the band. But, you know, so, you know, a couple of songs, you know, Sex and Yeah, and just a couple different Kix tunes. So anyway, so then he said, "Hey, if you're, would you be interested in coming down? I'll give you some songs to go ahead and work on. And you come down to Frederick, Maryland, and we'll get together where we rehearse and, you know, just see what happens, whatever." I said, "Okay, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Of course, I'd be excited to go ahead and play with him. I think that's really cool." So anyway, so then I was actually in the middle of a little stint of playing, I think, 12 out of 14 days in a row at that point. So, of course, you know, I told him that it's like, I only have so much time, but obviously I'll do whatever I can for it. So he gave me probably like 5 or 6 Kix tunes and then maybe 5 other original tunes that the new band was going to go ahead and do. So, you know, I pretty much crashed through all those and got down there, did the rehearsal on a Sunday afternoon. So he says, "Okay, let us go ahead and talk a couple of days. I'll probably give you a buzz like Tuesday or Wednesday, let you know what everybody thinks and everything." So they, okay. So it takes an hour and a half to drive from Frederick back up to Cumberland. So by the time I got back there, I got the phone call that said, "Somebody named Steve called and says you have the job if you want it." Oh, so, wow. So it was super cool. So obviously I did a good impression.
How surreal was that? Was it so surreal to just work with somebody so legendary? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I was completely excited. And of course, that band ended up going on. So that was in, I do believe it was 96, because I still have ticket stuff. I collect like everything. That's right. I'm not going to show you around my house, but I got like 1 of everything and 2 of everything else, as they say.
That's funny.
Right. So yeah, so getting in with that, we eventually went ahead and recorded the record after probably being together maybe about a year, I guess maybe is what it was. That was first Funny Money record. We ended up being together for 18 years. And honestly, the only reason, you know, putting out, I guess, 5 records, and the only reason why we actually, we said hiatus, you know, we didn't officially break up, but, you know, we said hiatus because we just didn't know. But, you know, probably out of those 18 years, maybe the last 7, 8, 9, or 10 of them, we started doing those little mini Kix reunion shows. So even in the beginning, we would have Blues Vultures, Ronnie's band, go ahead and open up the show for us. And then we would go ahead and set it up so that our other guitar player would leave. And then Ronnie would come up and we do a little mini Kix set for everybody. Oh, that's cool. So, you know, that's 2, 3, 4 songs. And then and Jimmy was playing drums for Ronnie on some of those gigs as well. So then Jimmy would go ahead and, of course, be there for that. So it's like, hey, here's 3/5 of Kix. And then finally, I do remember one night down at the place called Thunderdome down in Baltimore, the owner of that, who was longtime friends with those guys from back in Hammerjack's days, had said, "Hey, you know, what do you think about maybe, you know, getting Brian to go ahead and come in from LA, you know, doing like a Kix show, a legit Kix show." My cat's going to start meowing. So I'm probably going to have to put her upstairs possibly here. She might not shut up. She gets a toy and she's focused. But anyway, so then they were like, Steve goes, "Hell, I'd even go ahead and work with Donnie." if everybody wanted to. And quite frank, do you want me to go ahead and get rid of her? Can you hold on a second?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, talk amongst yourselves.
It's real life, people.
Yeah, there you go.
He's trying to control cats, and I have dogs that I was trying to keep from barking. So if it's not pets, it's kids. This is real life. So he's putting the kitty cat away.
All right.
That is.
No promises it might happen again, but I chased it.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
So to wrap up that thing. So the discussion went on. Hey, Steve said I'd even do it with Donnie, and the other guys were like, if he's involved, we're not interested. And that's truly why Donnie was immediately out of the picture. So any of those kick shows that you saw, he was not involved. It was just they and again, it's not to slag on him because he wrote some amazing music, and quite frankly, that's the music that's allowed him to continue the Kicks thing all the way up through today.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic stuff, and I love it. But yeah, so you were saying about, hey, it's got to be kind of surreal or whatever. And yeah, so even for 18 years of that, I was like, and of course, then once Jimmy joined the band, probably after like 10 years, and then it was like, freaking hey, there's that guy and there's that guy. So it was always nice, but it did reach a point where, for me personally wise, it felt like if I wasn't good enough, I wouldn't be here. Like I hold those guys in very high esteem, musicians wise, right? So for me, that just made me feel good. It's like, again, like somebody comes up to you and goes, "Man, you do a great job of somebody who you respect at what their abilities are." Okay, he's not just being nice, but those guys would go ahead and compliment me along those lines, and just the simple fact that I was there. So that made me feel great. But during the in between, prior to the Funny Bunny stuff, I was in another band called Idiot's Rule, again up in Cumberland, and I would, of course, almost like typical Van Halen, where I'd write all the music wise, guitar stuff, and then the singer would do it, and then everybody else, kind of puts in their 8 cents or whatever. But occasionally there would be some lyrics that I didn't dig, and I go, you kind of let it fly, you let it go, rather than kind of broach the subject and go, let's think about this musically wise. Do you really think that's a cool line? Of course, if the singer goes, yeah, I think it's a cool line, then you're like, now you're at this, and there's no impasse, as it were, because he's going to sing whatever he damn well wants to sing, right?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I got to the point where there was a little bit of that. Musically wise, I had complete freedom, but lyric wise, maybe something like that. So anyway, I said I want to go ahead and just write my own stuff so that I don't have to answer to anybody. So if anybody likes it, they like it because I wrote it. If they don't, they dislike it, and it's still me. So I went ahead and I recorded. I got another bass player and a drummer to basically be little things for me to go ahead, and so I could have that, so I could try some things loud and see what they sound like. So once I got the songs done, pretty much all karaoke, so there was no vocals or anything like that. I got them all recorded like that, and then I went back and go, what do I want to sing over, and write the lyrics. Did all that, record it, just handed out cassettes. That's how long ago it was, to other people, some friends really. And they go, hey, we like this. What's the name of the band? It's like, it's not a band. It's just me by myself, solo. So whenever I decided to go ahead and go play some shows, I needed a name. So, of course, I thought SOLO was kind of like, But so that's why I just try to be a little bit more creative. And that's where solo actually came from, because, again, it's me, quote, by myself, as it were. So that is that. And that pretty much brings us up to today. I mean, the band's done a lot of good stuff, and I do studio stuff and go wherever somebody is willing to take me and all that kind of stuff. But I make my living with the guitar, and I love it. And there's
awesome.
It's a mountain that we all continue to climb as musicians. It never ends. You'll never reach the top. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of bands don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize that in music. They aim for that. And
well, we all do aim for it. Certainly, I mean, quite frankly, at the musical ladder, career-wise, I certainly, wish that I was up there further than what I've done. But then you have other people go, man, you've done some really cool stuff. I'm like, I have, but it's almost like that was yesterday. The other part goes, I'm not. It's great, and I can flash back, but you kind of can't. You can't live there.
Yeah, you don't want to rest on your laurels, and And it's definitely hard when you're constantly creative, because I feel that I'm creative. I recently have been getting the band itch, and I haven't been in a band for a couple years now, and that was my first taste of doing a gig finally, because I've been in so many bands like, yeah, man, we're going to jam, we're going to be in a band,
This garage is great.
over and over again. You write originals, you're working with good people, but then it's band politics or whatever, you know how it goes. So for you to even get to where you got, is definitely kudos to you, and your abilities, because there's a lot of me's out there that are like, give me just one chance, It's like,
well, and again, that's true though. I know there's, say anything that you do, even with all your broadcast and your graphic arts, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you might go, this is really good, and I never mean it to sound any which way, but at the end of the day, the songs, if I don't like them, you'll never hear them.
Right.
If you like them, that's great. I mean, sure, I'm happy, but unfortunately, I'll never get the joy out of playing one of my songs that the other person might goes, hey, go ahead and play Winter.
Yeah.
They hear that and they go, oh, this is cool. I love this song. Me, it's a song, I'm delivering it. So it's in no shape or form to truly compare it. But it's like if I walk up to Paul McCartney and go, thanks. I go, oh, okay, thanks. And that was a terrible British accent. Put a real British accent on me there. But, so Paul McCartney will never get to experience, the Beatles and what the Beatles meant to the world. And of course, anything he released with the Wings, which is just as good, anywhere in there. So Paul McCartney will never know what it's like to be or meet Paul McCartney, So while it's weird and it feels weird for me to go to sign something, I mean, I'm happy and I'm flattered, but you don't ever go like, yes, of course you want me to sign your stuff. It's never like that. And it's not like why would you want me to sign it either? Because again, I can appreciate, I've met a lot of rock stars, as it were, throughout the years and stuff. And, somebody like Paul Stanley, I met him and I was working at a 7-Eleven in North Hollywood. He came in and looked for a toothbrush one night. And he goes, hey, you got any toothbrush eye? That would be plural. Toothbrush eye? I don't know. Anyway, but edit that out. Remember, only the really funny stuff. You're probably not going to be laughing after this. But so anyways, and of course I go, hey, they would be in the second aisle at the top or whatever. And I always kept a spiral notebook underneath the counter. So whenever anybody who came in there wanted an autograph, I could go, whoop, would you mind? So anyway, so he looked and everything. And it was funny because he goes, oh, well, I guess you're out. And we're going to say this was like on a Sunday or something like that. So anyway, I'm like, well, we get shipments on Wednesday. So if you want to come back, like Paul Stanley's going to come back to a 7-Eleven after 3 days and go, hey, you got that toothbrush? So it's stupid. But anyway, you're just trying to make small talk and everything like that. So I said, hey, would you mind signing this for me? He goes, sure, no problem. So, signed it and everything. And it's on my wall downstairs. And then I asked him some questions at the time. And I said, hey, how's Eric doing? Right? Eric Carr. So this was at the time whenever Eric had already been announced that he was in the hospital with cancer. Right. So anyway, so that's how he's doing. It's like, it's rough. Of course, we're hoping that he'll be able to get better and come back in that. And so he sat there by the front door, and so I'm at the counter and he's over at the front door. So it's literally like maybe 6 feet away from me. But he stood basically with his back to, one of the two doors to go out. But he stood there, and instead of like 1 foot out the door, like, hey, dude, appreciate it, I got to go kind of stuff, he sat there and he kind of kept talking to me. Anytime, whenever somebody who I really, really wanted to talk to would happen to show up at one of the places I was working at out there, for some reason, like traffic just completely died down. I'd have like one or maybe two people come in, go out, walk right past him, not realize who they just walked past, get their stuff, walk back out. And, a lot of times the people were, we're kind of in a conversation of sorts. And instead of going like, hey, here's my excuse, I'm out. He was standing there. So Paul and he sat there and talked to me for 25 minutes. And I was just asking him, he's like, what does the new record sound like? And this was Kiss Revenge. So of course, it was a great sounding record, great record. I love that record. Anyway, but he said, well, it kind of sounds like Destroyer. And I always tell the joke of, Whenever Paul Stanley says destroyer, to him it's like cheese. Sounds like cheese. Sounds like destroyer.
Yeah.
But whenever I heard it, I and all my friends have said that Kiss Destroyer 20 million times in our life. Whenever he said it, I heard Destroyer. Because there's a guy who wrote it's like, hey, Paul, or hey, Jimmy, what do you think of that song? Which one? Stairway to Heaven? It's like, Stairway to Heaven. It needs to be in capital letters and bold print. So it's crazy like that you get to come across. So that was my excitement. I'm sure he didn't get any excitement out of our conversation, but he treated me great, and I didn't sit there and fanboy all over him. Try to give some intelligent conversation, as it were, about Kiss, all that kind of stuff. So whenever it comes to getting back to the whole thing, unfortunately, Paul McCartney will never know what it's like to meet Paul McCartney. Paul will never know what it's like to go in that. Even with Steve, heading back to there. He's the whole thing. People come up and have a stack of stuff for him to sign. And he's like, isn't one enough? That's his mindset, because he's not Mr. Rockstar. I mean, I'll say it as I know him. That doesn't mean occasionally there might be some times when if we're having a sound check and somebody's not doing their job that he's like, dude, get it straight. That's not Rockstar. That's just professionalism. Because that's what I will say that I definitely learned from him and the other guys in Funny Money. Come from a small town, here's how you do things. Coming from guys who have toured the world or anything in between small town and there's a logical way to do it. That's the professional way to do it. That's where my mind went. Versus like, this is fine. It's like, are you after fine? Hey, you sang that. You played that that was pretty okay. I was really kind of hoping for a yeah.
Right.
So that's my mindset with with anything I'm truly interested in. If it's a house chore, not really, not so much. My wife, right? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Like, because I'm shiny squirrel man.
I always call it fighting the urge to do nothing. That's what
wait, are you talking about playing drums? Or are you talking about in general wise? In other words, if it's not something you want to do, which I hate to say, but I think it's much more of a guy thing than a girl thing. Girls are. No,
I have kids now. My kids are, I'm finding that I'm struggling to teach them that, like, fight the urge. Don't be lazy. Don't take the easy way out.
Right.
Even though I did.
If I don't do it, I truly am the same way. I did what I want when I wanted. And for the most, and looking back, I do regret that as far as when it comes to musical stuff. I wasn't a real go-get-em kind of guy. I was like, hey, I'm going to play, and surely somebody's going to like me enough to come up and say, hey, I like your stuff. Rather than tell myself, I was just I kind of did what I did, and I thought that was good enough. Looking back, I absolutely could have tried harder. I could have practiced more. But again, it was kind of like, some people are like that. Some people aren't. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, and quite frankly, since I met my wife 20 years ago, she was a go-getter done. She was in the retail world. Things got done by you, or they didn't get done. And once you become a boss, then you make sure everybody else is getting their stuff done. Versus me, I'm completely the opposite. So I've tried to gravitate towards her. She's tried to chill out a little bit more. It's still much more. I'm still way over here, and she's still coming over much more to me. But
like a yin and yang kind of thing. Balance.
Very much so. Yeah. So
I have a couple. I have some this or that's for you.
Okay.
I tried to think of some ones that'll stump you.
All right.
Pink Floyd or The Doors?
12. Oh, I have to.
Not the album.
That.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's still not the answer, right? Okay. You said Pink Floyd or The Doors?
Yeah.
Okay, so choose.
Which do you prefer?
Honestly, I don't listen to either one with any kind of regularity whatsoever.
Oh, really?
I find both of them fascinating. Like, I didn't, quote, grow up on. I always treated Pink Floyd as psychedelic music, which wasn't my thing. I was more of a pop guy, a rock guy, whatever. It's just kind of spacey,
Yeah.
You hear that. Hello, is there anybody here?
Yeah, and my dad got me into that, so.
Oh, yeah,
I remember having big headphones on, and Money came on. And the like jing ring scares the hell out of you.
Oh yeah, and of course the panning and all that. Yeah, that is true. And headphones.
That's headphone music before it existed,
Yeah. So, but I would say, I guess between the two, well, who do you choose?
I'm a Pink Floyd fan.
Like, that was an easy choice, or you still had to think about it? Okay.
I like the Doors, but not as much as Pink Floyd to me was like when I didn't want to see who made the music. It was just like this entity.
It was an atmosphere.
So when you see them, you're like, oh my God, people are actually creating that.
Well, yeah. You would never see, I think, a Pink Floyd I guess maybe with Peter Gabriel, because that was some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But the early stuff, like everything I've heard from Pink Floyd, which basically has been a single of some sort, I've liked every single one. Same thing with the Doors. But if I were to put on a record from beginning, now granted, The Wall's pretty stellar. Dark Side of the Moon's pretty stellar. And maybe the other stuff before that might be, but I think I'm not necessarily a Peter Gabriel. I've watched some live stuff because I want to see if I like it. But
his videos were amazing.
It's weird, it's quirky, like his solo stuff. Sledgehammer. Even video to me kind of reminds me of what I think of Peter Gabriel.
Right.
Super smart guy who's probably doing and saying a lot of stuff that is going over my head. But he knows what he's talking about.
I know, right?
I don't know what those dancing vegetables mean, but so I guess if I had to choose, I still didn't give you an answer. I'll say, well, Doors are a rock band, much more of a rock band.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd is a lot more in depth. Man.
Stumped him.
I know. Well, yeah, because I don't. I love Jim Morrison, his voice. That to me is the quality and of the Doors. Again, that late '60s stuff, musically wise, a lot of it I don't necessarily into, like Janis Joplin. So I'm gonna go right down the middle. Sorry.
Okay. How about, let's see, one that you'll dig: Skid Row or Cinderella?
Skid Row. Yeah, and that's not. That's not. And that's just because that first record to me is so amazing. That debut record, and of course Sebastian, tearing it up.
How can you go against that voice? I mean,
well, and even on
nuts.
Record, so Slave to the Grind, which I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but I went off and I did a little something with Sebastian there for a while.
I did hear about that. Yeah, I did find that, and that's kind of what made me put that in there a little. I was like, okay, see where your loyalties lie.
well, and again, it was like honestly, it was a 2-month thing where somebody
2 months. Nothing, right?
Well,
Sebastian Bach's name dropped. Oops.
There you go. Yeah, it's funny. I watched somebody else who does like the name drop thing. It's actually two guys talking about guitar gear, but whenever they mention like a famous client, they have a little. The guy has a horn, and so now they do it without even thinking about it. Yeah, well, whenever I was talking to Peter Gabriel, and
right,
it's just kind of funny. But no, the whole thing with Sebastian though was I got a message on this whenever I was living in Chambersburg, PA, and somebody hit me up on Facebook and go, "Hey, I saw Sebastian's looking for a guitar player. I know that you already have a gig with Funny Money. So would you, maybe some of your students you want to throw in there?" And I'm like, well, number one, none of my students are in there. I said, but not knowing what was going on with Funny Money and Sebastian stepwise would be a step up, as it were. Nothing anti this, but it was like, but here's more, get me out different places stuff. So anyway, so then I went ahead and I put together some live footage of Funny Money from down at the Record Theater, and sent that off to the address that was on there. So then I remember one day I was waiting for Steve to come out. Steve and I would always drive together for shows. So he was in Hagerstown, drive up 81, pick me up in Chambersburg, and then we go to wherever else. So we were heading up to a show, and I was waiting for him to go and pick me up. And so then I get a phone call and says, "Hey, Dean, hey, it's Sebastian Bach. How you doing?" I'm like, "What?" So weird.
This is a prank call.
Yeah, exactly. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's like I shouldn't say that to my wife, but you son of a bitch. So anyway, Mom, quit calling me. Not funny anymore. So anyway,
it's a bad Bach impersonation, Mom.
Exactly. But I'm gonna play along. So so we talk. So he starts talking. "Hey man, I got your package, got your video." It was a video cassette that I sent, and I think I did send him probably a regular cassette as well, I guess at the time. So anyway, so he said, yeah, I got it. And of course he was a big Kix fan. He's a big Steve Whiteman fan.
That helps.
So of course, so I had an immediate little in connection along those lines. But anyway, he goes, I love your stuff. And as much as I talk, as you can tell, he talks even more. And,
for real.
And higher. So anyway, so he goes like, yeah, man, I watched your video. And he's, well, like, so that's kind of where the story goes. But he, so he goes, yeah, man, I watched your videos, man. You're so much cooler than, the other guys who are in my band, Skid Row and everything. I'm like, I was a big Skid Row fan. So, I'll take it as you say it, but that's not true. Okay. So we got talking. So guys, so here's what's going on. I got this band. I got these other guys from Nashville that are coming up and doing this. I'm writing the originals and we're doing stuff at my place in Jersey. He said, but I'm still rebuilding the rec room downstairs and trying to find out whenever that would be open to have you go ahead and come up. We do some jam and see what everything feels like. Mm-hmm. So that ended up kind of going on for like maybe a couple weeks. After that, he'd shoot me an email and go, hey, still not done downstairs, just letting you know what's keeping you updated, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. And he'd given me X amount of probably, I don't know, 10 songs to go ahead and work on skid tunes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I never played, as a matter of fact, I never played any of them because I was never in a band that had a singer that could sing them. So while I was familiar with them, but he sent me stuff, of course, maybe half of the first record, Slave to the Grind, a couple of the other tunes off of Slave to the Grind record as well. And then some others for Subhuman Race, I think maybe is one of the Skid records or whatever. But anyway, so I was learning those tunes and stuff. And the one I didn't actually have, Frozen, was the name of the song. And I'd never heard it because he was like, hey, things went great. Go ahead and plan on coming back up in 2 weeks and we're going to add these songs and stuff. So it's like, well, I don't have that Subhuman Race or whatever. And he goes, here, just take my copy. So I still have his copy of Subhuman Race. It is what it is. Hey, if you want me to fake an autograph on there, I'll do that too.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, all that kind of went like that. It was going great. So I'd be going up there and crashing at his house. And again, a lot more to the story about him showing me his Kiss stuff. Because once he found out I was a Kiss fan, it was like, we'll talk about music later. Let me show you all my Kiss stuff. And we run around his house, pinball machine, all of this stuff. So anywho, but lots of stories with him. But again, eventually it just didn't pan out. So he ended up going with somebody else, which again, end of story. Right. So anyway, so I continue with Funny Money and all that kind of stuff in there. But continuing into the solo stuff, that's actually the time period that Mark Schenker, the bass player for Funny Money and current bass player for Kix, he reached out to me and goes, hey, if you're interested in making the solo record, I'd like to offer you my services. So we went over to his house, which is about 45 minutes away from my house down here in Virginia. And that's, of course, what we ended up doing. I brought in the original drummer for Solo Wise, Alex Hicks. I offered Mark, said, hey, if you're producing all this stuff, because he seemed like you liked the songs. So it's like kind of if you want to play bass on it, great. If not, I'll bring in my regular bass player that would actually end up his photos on the back of the record itself. But if you'd like to go ahead and do it, you're welcome to play bass. And he did, and he knocked it out of the park. He did a fantastic job. So Mark produced the record, and played that. So I did, of course, all guitars on there, and 90% of the backups. I did have the drummer whenever he's down recording some of the drum stuff, had him come down and do some of the harmonies with me, double and stuff. But otherwise, everything else is, it's all me. And again, that's the whole idea of the solo thing, is I want to do what I want, how I want. And so if you like it, great. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. I like it.
Let me tell you, I honestly, when you sent me all the songs, I did. I've been going through and listening to them, and I am really impressed because it's not, and coming from a musician, I've been around for a while, and it's not hokey. It's straight. Like, it does remind you of hair metal in a sense, if that's what you want to call it. Just a time period. But I really appreciated the different bass lines. I could hear the bass, and the drumming, the different drum beats. Because I'm always, every song sounded different.
Hear that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
every song.
Alex was one of those guys who would listen to each song and try to craft a part rather than, you know, some songs require Phil Rudd back there.
Yeah,
you know?
just something different, you know?
Like, yeah, exactly. Something different that's not taken away from the song. Just think outside the box and try to be creative without.
And it's tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. Particularly, because it's very simple to go ahead and stick with straight stuff. But it's just fun because if you ever get bored, really bored, I guess, and want to ever learn any of the drum stuff on there, fair warning, he's a left-hander. And
Me too. I am too.
Well, there you go. Okay, so
boom.
So some of the drummers that we've had, Oz Fox, or not Oz Fox, Oz Christ, and then even Kevin from Fuel, Kevin Miller.
Oh wow,
played with us for a while.
I love Fuel.
Yeah. Good stuff. So anyway, but Kevin, I remember, you know, at the rehearsal and stuff, and he's like, "Man, this is kind of weird. It's tricky." And then I told him, I said, "Oh, well, I don't know if it makes any difference." But all the other drummers have said, we didn't know he's left-handed. Now it kind of makes sense because the way you lead or whatever. So every single drummer has all made comments about certain things. And then whenever they find out he's left-handed, they go, now it makes sense.
That's why. Yeah. Because
what's your problem?
I don't hear about too many of them.
What's the deal? But what's your problem with being left-handed drummers? But I don't understand. If I'm a guitar player playing left-handed, you know, I still play the same chords and I still do everything the same. But for some reason, if I'm a drummer and you're doing that Europe, right? He's left-handed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, you know.
See, for me, what it is you basically train your legs and your arms to do their certain things.
Right.
You know? So, like, for me, my bass drum leg is my left leg. So you're doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have my hi-hat on my right leg, you know, and my left hand's usually overlapping the snare, you know, and playing that way. If you go switch it to right-handed, it's like, okay, so now my right leg has to play bass, you know.
Well, that's what a normal drummer does, though. A normal right-hand drummer, that's how you learn. Just like I said, a guitar player learns a chord that way. And if you're left-handed, you learn the same chord, except it's on a differently strung instrument.
Yeah.
But physically wise, it's the same thing. So you're still learning that. But
it's just, I think, because like when I was in a reggae band last, I always played it like rock and roll in a sense. In the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Feel out of it, did you?
Well, it did. But I added my own style. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then I found if I switched right-handed, I could do more of the one drop where it's just like, because my foot's untrained to playing that way. You know what I mean? So it's like a different mindset. Yeah. Or I'm just dumb. I mean, maybe drummers are just dumb.
I don't know. Well, I sit here and I go, well, you know what it is? Ooh. So
I mean, I'm moving more than you are, but you're going,
Exactly. I'm like, why are you back there sweating? I'm up there. I got a 10-pound Les Paul, and
we're back there like arms and legs swinging.
Exactly. It's like I'd never ever want to be a drummer's seat. I know it's a strange thought, but
for many reasons you don't want to be the drummer's seat.
Yeah, why don't you just get like a new one after each gig?
See, I wanted to play guitar and I've tried, but my mind can't wrap around. I can't. My little stubby fingers, you know.
I got short fingers. I'm 5'9".
Yeah.
So most other guitar players are definitely longer. So I got like the little short stubbies. But having said that, so I can go ahead and it just comes from literally sitting around. Stretching wise, I mean, if you practice doing things like that, you can do it. Because I get people with bigger hands that they can't, do the stretch.
Crazy.
I do.
Yeah, and just remembering, like, okay, this song you got to put your finger here and then down here and then go to here. Like, I'm not a mathematician, so
yeah, you got to learn how to play a couple things, and then you just worry about move it kind of stuff. But I
can fake play a bass. Just hit it like a drum and just kind of feel the, I'd rather do that. The way I looked at instruments is that at some point that instrument was made and nobody knew how to play it.
Or what it was.
Who says what's right?
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah. Bass player, hold down the low end. Says you. Mm-hmm. Go tell Billy Sheehan. I mean, and it's exactly it.
I want to be up high here.
Well, then your arms are too long. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Although one of my favorite bass players, which I think a lot of bass players don't like, is Fieldy from Korn. Is it Fieldy? Fieldy from Korn, right? The bass player for Korn.
Okay.
But he had that dung dung ticka gung gung, just like the strings were almost loose to fall off, or
Well, that's obviously because of how low those guys are tuned, because they're probably like C or B or maybe even A on some of that stuff.
So low, yeah. So low.
Well, even guitar players, a brownie point has been issued. It won't get you nothing, but you got it.
Yeah, right.
Dad, did you see my brownie points around here? I don't know. I keep mine over here. I don't know where you keep yours. So
we're husbands. We barely get brownie points.
Oh yeah. We're just trying to stay out of the doghouse, let alone earn anything.
Yeah. Yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Yes. I love it if you say I love it, dear. That's right.
So how has the pandemic affected you?
I had 3 months off whenever it hit. I guess starting in March, where of course everything shut down. So again, making my living playing guitar, not only through teaching wise, but certainly playing shows between solo and then the acoustic. I probably run like 3 or 4 different acoustic things. It's great because if you have like that many options to go ahead and play, you can kind of go back to the same bar and go, hey, how about on this? You take this one. How about on this date? You take this. So you can get several dates in a month rather than
that's cool.
You got one act, you can do that. So plus I like the variety of doing it with different people. Again, musically wise, and it keeps me from getting a real job. Edit that out because my wife sees that, I'm done for.
Damn it, I want to do that. I don't want a real job.
Yeah. Hey, I'll do whatever work you need, as long as it's not like real jobby shit. But so after 3 months of that, then now granted, in that time period, I would get tired to do maybe just a couple acoustic private shows, something like that. But, they were under still pretty strict things. But, I mean, they literally were in Pennsylvania way up on top of a mountain up by those windmills. It was a private club. So whatever, I'd do a couple of those. But for the most part, guitar or shows were out of there. Luckily, lessons stayed because one of the places that I teach at set up Zoom for them. So they were able to go ahead and get everybody on that instead of, of course, heading into the place where the building. And then, of course, I started picking up other Zoom stuff. So, but after 3 months, I started getting everything because everybody started getting antsy, even the clubs wise and stuff. And they were like, can't do bands. It was pretty much not allowed to do bands. But we could do acoustic because then your overhead band versus an acoustic guy or a duo or a trio. Considerably different. So since they couldn't get the bodies in, they still wanted to kind of do that for normalcy and to try to keep some traffic coming in. So after 3 months, I think since then, so what, March, April, May, so starting in June, we'll say, since then, I've had maybe 3 or 4 Fridays or Saturdays off. Everything else has been back up, and I hustle to go and try. I get the gigs, but luckily I have enough places that for the most part I can do it. And then again, with the other options, other people performing wise, they got places they play. So I go in on that. And plus I do sub gigs or, for other bands and stuff like that, which is
cool.
It's fun. It's stressful, but have you ever heard of the band Rubik's Cube?
No.
They're out of New York, but they do all 80s stuff. So if you get bored, go check them out. They're fun. They're good. So they do, again, all 80s stuff, Def Leppard, and that kind of stuff, or whatever. And then, maybe even girls just want to have fun or whatever, So all 80s good. Come On, Eileen. Love that song.
Ooh,
Come on, Eileen. All that stuff. And, but anyway, so they would like call up. They actually, Steve from Trickster is their normal guitar player. And PJ is normally the bass player. So both guys from Trickster are, part of that little group and stuff. But anyway, so occasionally they'll call up and go, hey, can you sub? Last time I did it, we went up to Canada. It's like, hey, can you play like in 2 weeks? Yeah, where's the gig at? Montreal. We're going up here and playing a wedding. So somebody hired this band to fly all the way up to Canada and all that stuff. Man. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's fun. Once you've done one, most of the set's going to stay pretty much the same if you get called again. Right. It's much more of a refresher. But otherwise, it's like, hey, you got 2 weeks to go ahead and learn like 40 songs. So even if they're pretty much all songs I've heard, that doesn't mean I've played any of them. even something like Don't Stop Believing. I was never in a band that could sing that. So I never ever learned it until I had to learn it for, something else. And then of course, it's great. Neil Sean, what more could you ask for? Except for the lovely, the little, all that kind of stuff. It's like he's inhuman.
It's funny when I hear Funny Money, I envision, this is what it takes me back to, is the Tourist Inn.
Oh yeah,
the Tourist Inn.
Absolutely.
I remember driving by it, my dad was a big fan. He was always there. So a big fan or an alcoholic, either way, but a big fan. And so he would go there. So it was like, I remember seeing was it Hybrid Ice?
Yeah.
Remember them?
Yeah.
And do you remember a band called Hide Your Daughters?
I don't think
about them.
I don't think so. What now?
That was in the time of Great Train Robbery.
Okay. See now those
guys
were around, like them and the Road Ducks and even Hybrid Ice. Those guys were probably, in theory, like maybe 5 years before I was actually kind of out doing the same venues. But they stayed around. That's of course how I end up knowing about them. Or in fact, Hybrid Ice, I remember those guys. Those guys played at one of the same venues that we played up in the way up in PA somewhere. I remember it was a cool venue, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But the TI, we've done lots of stuff there. Of course, do you remember who used to open up for us up there on occasion?
Well, I know one of the bands I used to remember was Back in Black. I don't know, they were around too, but
they did. No, they could always do their own shows, so they didn't need it.
That was newer. Who opened up for you guys?
Hailstorm.
Oh yeah.
Steve was teaching Lizzie vocal lesson for, if I recall correctly, 4 years, something like that. So we getting together, and of course, this is back when she's like 15 years old and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course, RJ playing drums at the time and stuff. And they ended up, with different other players as well. But yeah, they would open up some shows for us up there. And as a matter of fact, their parents reached out to me whenever they were still doing some recording, prior to getting signed and all that, and said, hey, we're working on some stuff. Would you be willing to come up and, do some guitar work for us? And again, that just never panned out schedules wise. I think is what the deal was. And of course, so then they end up going and getting signed. And it's funny because we always made the joke. Well, I always made the joke that if you ever want to get big, open up for KIX. Because you could look at Guns N' Roses, Poison, Cinderella, all those bands that went on to be bigger than KIX actually end up doing. Yeah. So of course, not that Hailstorm's the only people who can really
Hailstorm. I remember seeing her at the Chameleon.
Yeah.
I forget who they opened up for, but just seeing her, not only the way she looked, of course, but just the voice in that room. I'll never forget it. And then playing guitar, like this girl can sing. She can sing.
She's a force. I mean, she really.
And that was before they had blown up, So I remember those days. And actually, I used to do housing inspections where I'd have to go to bankrupt houses, that were emptied out or whatever, and go in and take pictures, whatever. Yeah. And one of them was in Windsor, where Hailstorm used to practice. It was their house that they used to practice. Yeah.
Was there any paint left on the walls? Because I'm sure it probably had out in there.
No, it was pretty beat up.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like, I'm here.
Oh yeah. And again, Lizzie, the band obviously has done fantastic, and
they deserved it. That's for sure.
A huge part. I mean, she's the figurehead. It's always tough to tell, honestly, when it comes to writing. Who does how much of whatever, that kind of stuff. I'm assuming she's very, very, very involved in the songwriting, so I can't say anything else, other than that. But I would tend to think she is. She knows what she kind of wants, and maybe some other people help get her there along the way. But of course, RJ's turned into a monster. You see him when he's 12, and he obviously is nothing compared to what he's going to become. You see him years later, and you go like, wow, he's a beast. We went out to Louder Than Life festival out in Kentucky. We went out there, not this past year because that one got canceled. So the one prior to that, and we saw that she was playing there. So I reached out to her and said, "Hey, my wife and I are flying out, and we're going to come out to the festival. any chance, we kind of catch up or whatever, just say, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then after they were done their set and stuff like that, so then their manager went ahead and took us back to the trailer and stuff. So we ended up being back there for about 2.5 hours. But the first thing she saw me, she came up, gave me the big long hug, and I'm like, that's just it's so cool. Not that she shouldn't be that way, but it's nice to know that she is that way. So as usual stuff, and of course I want to go and say, hey man, you're killing it, and throw out all the kudos just to because that's what we were talking about. You see somebody else who's good at what they do, so if they kind of throw certain things your way, you realize they are, again, they're a fan of what you've done. They appreciate what you've done, and I certainly was that of her. And she was, nice and complimentary on the way back and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. All this kind of stuff where, of course, sure, I had questions with her and just wanted again to get across the kudos, man. You're tearing it up. Your band sounds
for real.
Great set and all that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, that night, so they're on their table in there. There's a bottle of whiskey, and Metallica had just released their whiskey brand or whatever, and had sent it there. And so she opens up and was like, oh, it's a card from Metallica. Hey, wishing you guys success and that kind of stuff, hopefully enjoy it. And of course the irony was, and we discussed this, like James had just went back into rehab for alcohol, whatever. And they had just released that and stuff. So it is what it is, but they were like, all right, who's drinking? So, we have drinks and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
But it was great. So, like I said, the whole rock star stuff, she's been nothing but whatever.
I always, when lead singers get that, I always call that LSD, lead singer's disease.
Absolutely.
And there's people, I'm glad you don't have it. You can definitely tell you don't have it. Just because you're the lead singer doesn't mean you're the all-encompassing, I'm a rock star, superstar,
Tell that to the other 3 guys in the band, please. Thank you. I made it whenever they signed the non-disclosure agreement with me. I said, read it out loud, please, because I like to hear the words.
He's great.
Here, do it through this microphone with reverb.
Dean is great. No lead singer disease at all.
Here, you mind if I video this? but
his name's Dean, and he supports this message.
That's right. Yeah. Graphics by Nate.
Right.
But and again, I appreciate it, but it is. I mean, I hopefully I don't, but you're going to rub somebody the wrong way somehow or other.
Yeah. Especially in a band, there's so much politics in the band.
Well, of course, not with mine, or it's like, see you later. But be it political wise, or even just, it's supposed to be fun. And the guys who I have in right now, I've had great players pretty much throughout the whole thing, because we've had some different people. So I'm the only constant in the band for whatever reason. Some people just, life moves on or life happens, whatever. But everybody who I have in the band wants to be in the band, wants to do the work. If I say that's not really working on it, let's do it again. Versus guys who maybe have been playing for as long as I have. So how it is. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know how I want things to sound. That kind of stuff. I'm like, I value your opinion. Somebody still has to make the call at the end of the day. You can't have 4 chiefs, but at the end of the day, you want everybody to be happy. So I try my best to make sure everybody's happy to be in the band and with what we do. And even with the originals, the other guys go, we dig them. We like playing them. That's all I need to know. So it's, and writing the new stuff, which is what's going on right now. Again, I'm writing the stuff. I know for a fact that they would like to get in the same room and kind of try to bang it out like this. Yeah. I know for a fact that that's kind of not my comfort zone of how I want to work. Again, I don't want to, I keep saying it's a band, and it is a band. But at the end of the day, somebody has to drive it. And the reason why I started the band was so I didn't have to answer to anybody for anything. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate opinions and take those into consideration. But again, I want to write the song. So even with the songs that you're talking about on that first record, I wrote whatever songs I felt like writing at the time. I had no genre or anything. So some certainly are heavier. Like if you check out the song Flood My Mind or Texas Lead, Texas Lead wasn't supposed to be an instrumental. Just that was the last one I kind of working on. And I'm like, I don't think it needs anything. So I just left it as it was. And a lot of people go, I put that on and it makes me think about I'm driving, because the whole thing, whenever I kind of wrote it, I thought about out in Texas. I've driven through Texas, driving out to California wise, and I think of the flat, the wide open. So I think it made me think of airy Texas, and then Texas LED was kind of like, I could kind of hear Zeppelin bluesy kind of vibe. So that's why it's Texas LED,
That's cool.
Yeah, just kind of the things.
One of them was it Feelin' Joe? Is that what it's called? Sojo. I'm mixing the two titles. One of them reminded me of like Van Halen, like Ice Cream Man. I love Ice Cream Man.
Well, I was going to say, actually,
kind of vibe.
The Full Bug.
Is that?
Or Take Your Whiskey Home, actually. Well, my babies.
Yeah. There was one I was listening to, and I was like,
yeah.
I always liked Ice Cream Man, just because it's got that little, the normal guitar, and then it just builds into this killer,
Yeah, so, well, definitely, and I agree. I mean, Ice Cream Man, you just can't top it. And there's nothing about it. Again, it's Van Halen 1. You don't change anything. Don't think
I know, right?
But no, I mean, that song Sojo, and there's actually Sojo, Home Tonight, and So You Like. My brother actually wrote like the lyrics and the melody there. I might dig
really?
slightly just because I thought it fit me a certain way. But yeah, in fact, I let you hear the original versions of those songs that we recorded back in the band back then. You'd be like, are you sure that's not you singing on that? Because my brother and I do have fairly similar voices on some of that stuff.
That's cool.
But yeah, so Joe was actually, again, being a huge Van Halen fan, that I'll cop to that was the whole inspiration is Take Your Whiskey Home, which of course is that acoustic, Take Your Whiskey Home, and it comes in heavy. So that's what it was. Hopefully it doesn't sound just like it to where you go, now that I know it's a ripoff versus like, I get it, but it doesn't sound just like that. So, but the idea was there.
I remember I used to listen to Howard Stern, and he had at one time this guy who basically called out Led Zeppelin for every blues guys they ripped off. And my mind was blown, and I was like, what did they do? All these songs think they're Zeppelin, but
yeah, man,
like
it's amazing. All that stuff. Well, again, I think there's a difference between ripping off and kind of inspired by, which obviously X amount of the Zeppelin stuff. You're like, okay, you changed like a word. That's not really.
Some of it's like,
really. So
I like Dazed and Confused. That's one I really like, and
man,
theirs really. Like there's ones you're like, what?
Oh yeah. I mean, so much of that early stuff, which is funny, but then of course then they end up coming into their own, by Zeppelin. And then from there on, it was never looking back kind of stuff. But yeah, you hear that,
even,
that I Can't Quit You, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How do you think they wrote Stairway to Heaven? Some songs are just like, you imagine just sitting there, and there's a bustle in your hedgerow. Don't be alarmed now. It's just a spring clean for the May Queen. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell did he write that?
But you know what? You've heard, not to go on that tangent, but you've heard about the lawsuit over that, right?
Oh, yeah. With Rainbow, wasn't it Rainbow?
Spirit. That was
Guitars, that's what it was. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But as soon as I hear that. Right, so I hear it. I'm like, it goes all the way down to the... Goes all the way down there, and then it's nothing at all like it. But and you hear some people come in and testify, it's like, oh, it's a well used thing throughout other songs, and it's a whatever. Right. It's like, I get it,
inspiration.
but tempo wise, individual pick, all that stuff. I'm like, man, that's and that band had opened up for Led Zeppelin prior to that, and so he heard that song. So again, it could be in the back of the brain. Doesn't mean that he heard a recording and goes, I'm going to do it. It could be that subliminal stuff. That happens as well. But I do think that the whole idea of, how you come up with that stuff, whether it's an inspiration for me, I get like almost either it could be a rhythmic-y idea, and then I figure out what notes I want. But then you hear that basic rhythm idea, and so that's the hook. So you either got to come up with a catchy melody, or a rhythmic idea, or combine, the same thing. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we're trying to, as we already said earlier, try to be creative with it, because if you sit there and play 3 chords, Hey, what AC/DC song is that? It's not. It's a Kick song. No, it's an AC/DC song. You know, so Kix took AC, and they never tried to hide it. You know, they always sat there and said we're huge AC/DC and Rolling Stones and Aerosmith fans. So you know, but that straight aheadness, that's why so many people can relate to AC/DC, because it's not.
You can hear.
It's not.
You can definitely hear Bon Scott in Kix. You know,
well,
Steve's got that. It's like
Donnie, again, being a huge Kix fan and writing all the music, he knew what he wanted to hear over top of it, which was a Bon Scott kind of deal. And obviously Steve was certainly able to go ahead and do that. So yeah, again, there's no mistake, or that's not happen chance. They knew what they were aiming for. But you talked about a song, you go, how in the world did Freddie ever come up with Bohemian Rhapsody? I mean, even we've never done another song that sounds like that. And I thought about it, and I said, to me, the thing is, they're British kids from whatever, maybe even up till now. They grew up learning proper things, opera, classical music. We grew up on rock and roll. So our brains go, that's what music is. Freddie comes from a lot more of a wide palette. So that's why we would never think of it. If I wanted to write something, and I still say Bohemian Rhapsody is the greatest song I've ever heard, from songwriting wise, everything is like, how? So if I wanted to write something that was anything like that, it's probably going to sound like a ripoff, a downgraded version of that. It might still be great, but if I try that hard, I'm like, what do they do here? Galileo, you know, you go, what a great idea. Nobody else does that. And then you throw it in your song, and you're like, hey, that sounds like Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, mine's great.
It's kind of like, it's like Greta Van Fleet, you know, that's out, that sounds like Zeppelin, but they really do. But you know,
I'm one of those. You know, I'm not going to sit there and say hater, but I'm going to be like, I'm not.
They're not getting a lot of love.
I've heard them do some really cool stuff. So again, it's not that I would never sit there and go, they're not good, or they're the funny things. Not that you can't play your instrument, but as soon as I start to hear the keyboard player, and then the visual thing. So as much as they might kind of go, we're nothing like Zeppelin. Like, okay, now you're being dumb. Own it and go, we get why we dress like them. We move like them. We sound like them. So, but they might kind of go, but this is who we are. It's like, okay, then accept the fact that people will go, you sound like them, and move on. Unless you make a conscious effort to not sound like that. But you are who you are. So I love it whenever the guy sings lower. Whenever he goes higher, you know, I mean, he has that kind of certain tone about him or whatever. And as you know, he definitely can sing high. But again, it's almost like, but when you're sitting there talking about the leaves are falling all around, you know, and the mist is blowing and the sun's setting over the East Mountain. And okay, now you sound like Zeppelin again. So
I always say that they figured out a way to do Zeppelin without just barely getting sued by Led Zeppelin, you know, because, you know, I mean, Eddie Vedder got sued years ago, which I think is ironic as hell. You know, Led Zeppelin shouldn't be suing any damn body, considering they did what they did, you know, so it's like, really?
Off one of their genuine original songs, and yes.
It's like Going to California sounds like a Zeppelin song, really?
Well, who sued Eddie Vedder? Do I know this?
Jimmy Page. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Page
over what?
Said that going to California sounded like, I forget which one. Can't remember which song, but if you look it up, I don't know if he ever won or
Pearl Jam tune then, right?
Yeah, Pearl Jam, Going to California. It was one of their more acoustic, newer, off the Yield album, I think.
Oh, okay. I mean, I loved Pearl Jam's first record. Another basically perfect debut record. I thought it was great. I liked like maybe half. What was the second Vitology, or was that the third? What's the one with the goat on it?
Third.
Vitology, of course, is gray. What's the one with the goat?
I'm not sure. I can't think of them offhand.
You know, I mean, but yeah, there's definitely some other cool tunes and stuff. But it's almost like once you got the first record, you kind of had all the other. It's like Yngwie Malmsteen. It'll blow your mind when you first hear him, but you could take any of his solos or songs and put them all together and put them out on different records. And like, I can't tell the difference. You know, he is who he is, and he's the best Yngwie Malmsteen you'll ever hear. You know, so if you're into it, then you have nothing to lack, because he's going to keep delivering that. But yeah, man, Queen, amazing stuff.
Do you prefer covers or originals?
Well, I play covers. I don't play any cover songs, acoustic or band wise, that I don't genuinely like.
Right.
So, how many more times do I need to go? Wasting away again.
Margarita. Yeah.
I love the song. That doesn't mean I get excited over playing it. And I think that we do it well. So I have pride in delivering it, and always try to deliver the Jimmy buffet, kind of a vibe with it, rather than, and that's probably what it boils down to. So I will say that a lot of bands, to me, I think what people like when they come and see solo is the song selection, which still boils down to it fits the band. In other words, I'm not going to come out and do a bunch of certain Journey songs because I can't sing them as well as I think they need to be sung. So I'll say we're not doing them, and even, because obviously there's some heavier Journey tunes that would probably quote fit in our set. But by the same token, we're not out there trying to make everybody get happy and dance and play Don't Stop Believing. Come on, people, get up and dance. I Solo to me is a rock band, just like Funny Money. It was never about, we did half Kicks and half Funny Money tunes. There in the early days, we would pick like one cover tune to come out and do as an encore. We did Cheap Trick's Alvita Zane, which we end up getting into the studio and recording on a Cheap Trick compilation, which cool. Cheap Trick had yanked off the market because I guess copyright or whatever. It's funny. So we did Alvita Zane. Robin came on and he did a cover of a Cheap Trick song. Robin Zander did. And the record still got squashed. So not many people. It's a double disc. That's it's called Stiff Competition, is what it is. So it's a Cheap Trick compilation tribute record, and we were asked to go ahead and do it, and we did Alvita Zane, and cool. We did a great version. Steve freaking nailed it. Did a great job, but even the band wise and stuff. So, but anyway, so we do that, or I Know It's Only Rock and Roll, and then I'm trying to think if we did maybe one other cover tune. Oh, we did The Rapper. Do you know the song? No, it's Donnie Irish wrote it. Do you know who Donnie Irish is? He did Aaliyah and Life is a Rock. But anyway, he got from Pittsburgh. So, but if you get bored, check out the song The Rapper I think it's by a band called the Jaggers. I think that was the name. But it was a pop hit, kind of like early mid 80s. But it's funny because rap, they call him the rapper. It was a rocking little tune. We rocked it up a little bit just because the studio version is a little bit tamer versus a live version. But anyway, so we would do that. So the whole idea is that if you pick the right songs as your band, not just the songs that everybody necessarily wants to hear. If you're playing, you're trying to get them up and dancing, then go ahead and whip out the. I love it. I love that. Yeah, I love that stuff. I really do. Because I'm into melody and all that kind of stuff. So, but I
always felt there was more freedom. There's more freedom to originals versus the pressure you have because somebody's always with the covers. Oh, he didn't do that right, or
Well, that's true. Everybody knows what the original one sounds like. Yeah. So if you jack it up, you don't have to be a musician to go. I'm not a musician, but that wasn't right. And it's like, you're not a musician, but you were correct. So but it is true. But I like by the same deal. Like we do Jet by Wings.
Oh, okay.
We do a lot of times. We'll start off the show with that. People love that song. Nobody, like literally, I've never seen another band in all my years actually do the song. It's great. It's like, why doesn't anybody do that? So I brought it into solo, and then people are like, wow. So we just played outdoor shows and stuff like that, and you could just see the audience kind of turns around and looks and like, wow. I'm like, number one, you go, must be an older audience because this song came out probably like mid 70s. But it was definitely a hit. I remember hearing it on the radio whenever it came out, so I was probably like 10 years old. But anyway, so those type of songs with the original stuff. Again, I can write a song and think it's good, record it, and then Nate goes, "Love that song. That's great. I always listen to that," or kind of skip over that song. I don't know why you do or you don't like it. In fact,
just a feel.
Well, it is. It's very much a personal thing.
Yeah.
The one song, Winter, that I kind of referred to earlier, it's a slower kind of mid-tempo kind of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It was a good kind of haunting in a
Oh,
sense.
yeah. It's all dark. It's all minor kind of feel. But I kind of assumed that was just a song that nobody would care about on the record. Whenever I play it, I mean, to crowds that have never ever heard it, it usually gets like I'm like, what?
Got that vibe.
What? But I have no idea. Again, how many songs have you never heard that you might hear particularly live? Because sound wise, it might not sound as cool and tight as focus as the record that you hear, and you go, okay, I think I like the song, but I need to hear a studio version to make sure. In fact, I went and I saw, again, living in LA, I was out there roughly 88 to 92. So KIX put out Hotwire, and they had a song on there called Cold Chills. Nice and kind of a dark kind of sound, right?
Yeah.
Scary. And I remember they came out and they had sunglasses on, but they had little red LEDs, like one for each eyeball.
Oh wow!
So like everybody in the band put on the sunglasses, and they had at least, I don't know how in the world they saw because I remember the stage was pretty dark to keep.
That's cool.
But anyway, so I heard these neat little parts of the song. Again, it was a brand new record, so I'd never heard the song before, and I'm like, man, I'm going to try to keep this in my brain. So I went back home, got my guitar out, and started, playing these things, these ideas that popped in my head. That got spurred from those. And then I go, I hope this isn't the record. And then, of course, I finally got to hear the record and go, it was the record. So it stuck in my head that quickly, but it also spurred like, ooh, I got those neat little ideas. So I don't know. I don't know. All I care is, yes, it's weird. Just like somebody saying, I love your stuff. You go, thanks. No, Paul, you've changed my life. It's like, wow, okay, he doesn't get that. But so it's nice when they like and request the originals, but I don't necessarily get a rise from either one. And I love playing every single song that I see. All I know is I'm out there to do a job. You get done the song and you're on to the next one. I saw Jack White say the same thing where he goes, they go, so what do you think of the songs? And he goes, I have songs that I'll play, but I never walk on stage with a list. I just call it out, feel my way, which is great if you're two people in the band, right? Well, two,
right? Yeah.
Guys,
but we're gonna do this one now.
It's like, Meg, give me a beat.
Yeah.
All right, I got it from here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he said you look out of the crowd, so you might play something you think that they is going to go over like gangbusters, and there's nothing. But then you find out later that they loved it. They just didn't happen to clap at that or something. So he goes, and they say, well, what about you and your performance? And it was, he goes, every now and again, I'll have like 5 seconds in between my thought process of what I want to play next to kind of go, hey, that was really good or not or whatever. He goes, but I'm just on to the next. So even if I did do a really good version, I go, hey, that was really good. Next, And
that
so
is true as a musician. Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, you don't get to enjoy the performance. I've had shows where I played like crap and people come up and go, man, that's the best I've ever seen you play. Yeah. I'm like, and
you don't really know.
You say thank you and you move on. Unless it's your friend, then you kind of go, really? I play like shit. Or those nights where you felt like everything was magical and nobody says word one to you.
Yeah.
So whatever the audience gets and whatever you get, it is what it is. I'm just trying to do 110, no matter cover or not, but every single show, there's no slack and there's no saving it for tomorrow night or anything else. And with me being the lead singer in solo, I'm singing out of a regular, say 3-hour show versus, or if we do if we have an opener, we do a 90 or maybe even 2 hours. It's a lot of singing for like 20 couple whenever you're the lead singer. Cause I'll pick stuff that is high in my range because I want to do the song. And if I sound like crap, I'll get rid of the song. It'll just disappear. Right. If I think I do a good enough job, and I'll ask the other guys, again, they go, that you don't sing that very well. I'll go, tough titties. Go ahead and read your contract. And I say,
yeah.
Now get out of my bus.
Some people are really tough to sing. I always think of like Dave Soundgarden. Dave Dave?
Oh, you're talking about
Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell. That's
Cornell.
what it is. I was like, Dave. Now.
Well, his friends called him Dave. I get what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. Dave.
Dave,
It's Chris.
dude. Yeah. See, stuff like that. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, going back to Steve
some people can hit that range, you know.
Yeah.
But or like, and no one ever thinks of the longevity. Like I remember seeing, was it Roger Daltrey from the Who? He's like 80 singing his songs. He's going, like, dude, you probably weren't thinking back then how hard this would be now, you know.
Well, everybody says the exact same thing. Paul Stanley is with his recent, vocals over the past 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it's been. It's crazy because you look up to that certain point to whenever all that stuff started happening to his voice, and you're like, man, he's freaking singing above and beyond. Particularly in the 80s, he sang everything even higher. Instead of singing "Gotta Lose Your Mind," Detroit Rock City. He just do something crazy, and he was able to do it and stuff. But yeah, now he's 70 some years old. It's like, dude, nobody ever thought that whenever we wrote this stuff, and like, in probably, I'm guessing their end of teens, early 20s. We went and we saw the Who. Maybe it was their 50th anniversary tour. Somebody called them, go, hey, they like the Who? I go, yeah, they're okay. Again, I only know the hits. Do you want to go see them? When? Tonight. I got tickets. So I'm like, all right, I'll meet you. And we went and saw them, I think, in DC. And again, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations because of Roger. I'm like, I got a feeling he's not going to be able to hit a lot of this stuff and everything. I was blown away by him and the entire show wise. I was just impressed. I didn't expect it to be that good, and even to recognize as many songs. Tal Wacken, the bass player, she opened up the show, and it was like, oh, she's pretty impressive as well. I don't know if you've heard of her. She played bass for Jeff Beck is kind of how she really made her name. Ooh. She was a teenager, like 16, 17 years old, and up there playing, with Jeff Beck, and you see Jeff Beck going like, that's good.
That's when you know you're good.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
Those moments. Yeah, that's cool. All right, man. Well, we've had a long talk. I could sit here forever, honestly.
Well, you've had a
long
talk, so.
One of the things I wanted to ask, not being a guitarist, how do you write a guitar solo? Do you write it? Do you just feel it and that's what comes out and then go, okay, that's what I did? Or do you have to sit there like, okay, I'm going to do A, then B? Just curious.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course, that'd be the same thing as a drummer wise. I go, hey, how do you write a beat? Depends on the situation, right? A lot of this stuff I like, I will say for the funny money stuff, with the exception of, I think, one thing that I can think of. I would go ahead and I would take a rough of the solo section I was going to go ahead and play over top of. Then I hear, sure, I can go ahead and look at the chords. Sometimes as a guitar player, I will look at chord shapes, and that says, oh, I know I can use these 3 notes. So if I were to, so if I was playing an A chord here, that means I got these notes. So I could go, right?
Oh, okay.
So that'd be like a chordal idea. Instead, if it was more of a scale, right? So something like that. So all that was off the cuff, but I played something like that somewhere along the line because I kind of know what I'm doing. So you look at your options. So some of the stuff I'll completely write out, figure it out. I'll even go ahead and record it, listen back to it and go, is that cool? Because I want it to be catchy. So again, it could be a rhythmic thing. It could be a melody. It could be a mix and match between two. But I'm also looking for different physical things to do that another guitar player might kind of go and go like, that's weird. That's not how I play. And not to say that I'm whatever. But again, I'm looking for different ideas rather than your typical note selection that everybody would play in the same pattern and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you had one in a song that I was like, I feel like he could have kept going with this if he wanted. Like, I forget what it was. Just something. I don't know if it was the pedal you were using. It just kind of had this like, I can't remember which song it is now.
I mean, on the solo record.
Yeah. Okay. It just kind of kept. It kept going back and forth, and I was like, "Ooh, I like that."
Oh, okay.
What it is now.
I'll have to think about what that. Let me know whenever.
I'll let you know after I get off here and I listen to it. I'm like, that's the one.
I wonder if it wasn't off of Doing All This For You. Was it an up-tempo bouncy tune? Do you remember whatsoever?
Where's my phone?
If not, yeah, you can.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't. It's drawing a blank now, but I remember just listening to it, of course.
So yeah, and I'm curious to find out, did I stick with the same notes, or did I take like a rhythmic and a melodic pattern and kind of do the logical? So it sounds great to your ear, so there's no surprises. Right. So you hear a rhythm, diddly 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 diddly, but then diddly 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 diddly, you know. So it kind of
it just kind of kept going, and I think it went. I'm trying to remember which one it was now. It's gonna bug me. I'll send you a message afterwards.
Yeah, let me know that.
That's what it was.
As a flip side of one that I do definitely go ahead and do off the cuff was the end of the Funny Money off of Skin to Skin record. I think it's the last song on the record, called Nice Guys Finish Last, which, by the way, was written about our drummer, Jeff, because he's the nicest guy, and he always getting crapped on by his girlfriends. So Steve wrote a song about it. It goes like this. So Nice Guys Finish Last. But that was kind of, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead and say it. Nobody cares. That was a long time ago. But the end of it, so the end of it had an outro solo. So, Mark and I would be sitting there, and Steve maybe would go ahead and send us messages and go, hey, put another guitar part, throw something in here, throw something in this, or whatever like that, or that stuff. So at the end of that song, Nice Guys Finish Last, Steve said, just go ahead and, play a solo till it fades out. So, of course, the usual stuff. So we're playing, and, you probably figure a typical song might have basically faded out in 10, 15 seconds. So anyway, so I'm just coming off the cuff. I didn't have anything planned for it. So I just figured out, what the chords I was playing over top of, started playing solo. So I did that. And then a lot of times you figure, okay, well, I'm you're playing a solo. And you go, okay, well, you're done. And you kind of holding the note. And then Mark's like, and so we're looking at the screen and we go, okay, well, we still have to say this much left to record. And we thought we were kind of done here. So he goes, just go ahead and just play all the way to the end till basically, obviously there's no more.
Come up with whatever. And
So I continued again off the cuff. So you kind of hear me. I go from the one note that I'm kind of holding out, and then I kept playing. And, I didn't really think much about it and go, okay, that was bad. It didn't suck. So I go, okay. And again, trying to be your own judge, either happy with it or you're not, but you don't go, that's the greatest song I've ever, or that's the greatest solo I've ever recorded. You kind of go, yeah, are you proud of it? Cool. So unless somebody else goes, that's terrible, do it again, then you have that discussion. But anyway, so I did that. So it's probably, I don't know, like a 45-second solo instead of like maybe 15. But being a jam. So we sent it off and kind of, we listened back and go, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So we sent it off to Steve, and we didn't do the fade. We just kind of let it run all the way to the end. Steve sat back and goes, let that go as far as you can before you can fade. Leave as much of that solo on as you can. So that's why it's actually longer than what it was supposed to, which is actually super cool. It's just, again, it's nice to hear somebody else, because he could kind of go, solo's fine. Just do, fade it out. But obviously he heard enough of it that he thought was kind of cool and stuff like that. So yeah, man, that's really cool. Rating wise, it's just, it's whatever. I listen, of course, what it is. And there's nothing kind of deep about it. Maybe some people close their eyes, and you don't see me closing my eyes and feeling like Eric Clapton or that kind of, or Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, I thought was blind for years because he would always have his eyes closed. I'm like, wow, he's playing and he's blind? That's crazy.
Yeah, and then I saw Jeff Healey and I had no idea. Why does he keep looking at everybody? That's a terrible joke. But of course, it is truly meant as a joke. I met Jeff Healey in LA. Actually, he came in with his girlfriend, which by the way was smoking hot.
Hope so.
Nothing against anything, but she was. Anyway, so he came in and asked just about calling the cab for come pick him up and stuff. So anyway, I said, absolutely. We'll go ahead and we'll call you a cab. And I said, hey, would you mind? Here comes the notebook. Would you mind signing this? Give me an autograph, please. And he goes, sure. So he went ahead and he wrote it. And so I have Jeff Healey's autograph. And of course, you can imagine it's a little bit different than your typical autograph. Yeah. But at the time we did the song Angel Eyes. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah, and that of course was Roadhouse. If that was a cover at the time, because he didn't write it. It's maybe like a John Hyatt song. But then he didn't write it, but I think John Hyatt wrote it. And then the cover band, country band, Newgrass Revival. They also had a like a more of a semi reggae bluegrassy kind of vibe versus what he did. It's like the pop version. I loved his version. Again, there's a player whose voice I just absolutely love, but he was a monster player as well. So anyway, but I asked him, it's like, hey, I was asking about some of the chords in that because again, I'd already kind of learned it, but I thought there was one little chord in there. I'm like, am I playing this right? And he goes, just play it however you feel it. Is what he said. He didn't try to correct me or direct me, other than just try to go. Just play what you feel. And again, because there was somebody who this is how he gauged on how his playing was. There was no reference points. He had to he almost kind of see and feel things like that. And you could some players are like that. You go, man, that feeling is Jimmy Page sounds like Jimmy Page. If you ask him to be Eddie Van Halen, it's terrible, and vice versa. It's terrible. I heard Eddie play the blues once, and I hear this. It's like, to me, that's not blues. That's Eddie Van Halen playing over top of somebody else's blues jam. That's not very bluesy. And yet Ed had that swing and that swagger like Ice Cream Man. He just had that vibe. He could be 100 miles an hour attitude-wise, or other times he just sat there and played just all the perfect notes. Ed could do no wrong up through 1984 for me. So it's like, the king.
Yeah, I think one of the things I did when I was playing shows is I would tend to close my eyes because I feel like sometimes you get distracted by everything around you, or you get out of your head. And if you close your eyes and feel it, it brings you back. You're like, this is why I'm doing it, And I've kind of memorized where my drums are. I used to get self-conscious about it because I'd wear sunglasses like I'm too cool for school. But meanwhile, people probably thought I was blind.
I've tried wearing sunglasses occasionally, but then I'm like, number one, looking down, it's kind of weird like this. And then, if it's not really bright on stage, then I'm like, I have no idea what dot I'm on. That. And so on my guitars, a lot of the ones you'll see tape side for the dots. But it's simply because if it's too dark in the room where I'm playing, I can still literally see where I'm at. Because so
you can't do it by feel by now still.
Well, if I want to go, okay, so.
I was going to say.
Yeah. So obviously there's an X amount that certainly is like that.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I get what you mean. But occasionally I'll go ahead and after some of my students, I'll do the same thing. We'll take a basic lick that's something super easy so they're not moving. And then go, okay, so I want you to connect that with the very next one. So blah, 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 slide up and then maybe do the same thing. So, but the habit that we all have is you look down when you play. To me, that's never impressive to sit there and watch somebody, look at their guitar the whole time. Which one's more impressive? Exactly. Somebody who does or who doesn't look, who produces the same stuff. So, you try to do that. And plus, rock and roll, it's a show. You're not there to be looking at your guitar the whole time. You want people to, I want people to think that what I do is easy. So I try to make it look easy. I point at people, I smile. I mean, I do have a blast. Yeah. That's why I'm smiling. But at the same time, if you see me going the rock face, every now and again, I feel that little, so whenever we talk about it, it's like, you hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did that.
So it's not an intentional thing, but sometimes you kind of get your own little thing. But again, whenever it comes to doing it, I want people to think that what I do must be pretty easy because I look effortless doing it, as it were.
Right.
That kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, if you feel it's effortless and you play guitar, here you go.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can appreciate and go, man, you make it look effortless because you can appreciate it.
Right.
Most people go, AC/DC drum beat. It's not that hard, but like one out of 100 will make it sound. There's that intangible.
Yeah.
Something about, John Bonham, 2 and 4. But there's that you got to go ahead and it's got to be that last second, boom. It's not, bah. It's got this. Just when you think he's going to be off time, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole Cashmere thing, it's just when you think Bonham's
got to hit it right.
Late, he sneaks it right in. It's like, it's got that pull and all that kind of stuff. So, so my job is to make it look easy. whether it is easy or not, that's still my job to make it look like.
Well, I'll tell you what, from listening to you guys, I can just tell that your live shows are a lot of fun just from listening to the songs. And that's what I get from it. And it reminds me of that era when people put on a hell of a good stage presence. You know, they had a great stage show, and it wasn't just about watching them play. It was like, no, man, this is who we are, you know.
And get dressed for the show.
Just having fun.
You know?
Yeah.
I tell the guys in the band, you can wear anything you want as long as it's black.
Yeah.
You know,
yep.
You know, I've even had some ex guys go ahead and go, "Hey, we're playing this outdoor show. You know, they're calling it to be 100 degrees. Are we still getting dressed?" And I'm like, "Do you really want me to answer that?" So anybody who deals with me knows I'm just here's what I find acceptable and here's what I don't. I'm pretty black and white over it. And like, we're there to entertain. I don't want it to look like, hey, the guys who just set up the lights are the guys who are up there playing the song. You know.
For real.
You know, so again, because that's what we grew up on, like you already said.
Yeah.
You know? That's a little bit disappointing to me. I realize the money's not there like it was back in the 80s. But you look at, say, Poison's show back then, they would blow everything up. They had these great ramps. I mean, what a phenomenal show, you know, and then you see them now. And again, there's budgets, you know, or you kind of go visually wise, they're not the same band. And, you know, I hear other people say, and I won't mention names, but I hear other people go, dude, that was 30 years ago. We're older. I'm like, what a terrible attitude. Because I was 30 years older, and I'm much better of an entertainer now than I was 30 years ago. You know,
because you've seen enough to know better.
Well, you would think, to me, again, it's a pride. It's a pride thing. If you feel what you do is acceptable and you have pride when you walk off stage, you talked about those vocal things. There's somebody who completely slaughters their vocals live. Look at that. Look what I just did there. And I'm like, how? And I've talked to other people who we've talked about today, and I go, I don't understand. How can you do that? Because again, you know, I get it. Here's you now. Maybe you can't sing that stuff. Then just like Robert Plant, find a sing around. Don't give a really bad version of that. Because to me, that just doesn't make sense. Or if you can't do it, don't do it. Why would you do it? And of course, the comment I heard back is like, they're getting paid.
Yeah.
So as long as somebody's willing to pay them, whether they're great or not so great, you know, they're of course, you know,
unfortunately,
like, hey, I'm trying to make a living. That 80s money ain't here no more. And of course, you know, very few 80s bands made that much money that they would carry over any further like that. You know, so even though KIX did great with tours, you know, and that kind of stuff, the money went back into the band. Everybody got a salary weekly. And, you know, they had their expenses covered, but for the most part, they were out on the road. So you really didn't need to go shopping at Walmart. Not that there was any around at the time, but you know, so you didn't want for anything. You were young, you were living on the road, you were living in hotels. This is rock and roll. You know, nobody's sitting there thinking 30 years later, I'm like, should I try to do whatever with this money or anything? And that ended up being it, you know. So, you know, all the money that was brought in, for the most part, I will say from KIX aspect, a lot of it was so anything that they needed, they had a kitty. They could go ahead and, hey, we need these 12 new drum mics. Go buy them. Done. You know, we need to go and take 3 months off so we can work on the next record. Everybody still gets a paycheck. The money's there.
Yeah.
So it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, but if you kind of go look at all the money that went into, say, the show, hey, it costs, you know, even funny money wise, you know, if we wanted to have streamers or something like that, which we never really did, but for KIX shows, you know, I know what it costs to have the little things, you know, at the end of the show, balloon,
whatever,
and anything else like that, you know, that costs money, so it comes off the top. So you go, is it worth it to have it? Well, hopefully you kind of go, the fans make it worth it to have it. If you're making enough money, you know, then spend the extra, whatever, $100 to give that.
That's why KISS took off their makeup.
Because why?
Like, KISS took off their makeup because they couldn't afford the budget anymore. Remember that? One of my favorite moments, my favorite lines is when KISS took off their makeup, and the one line is, when that bitch bends over, I forget my name. Ow.
Classic.
Favorite line.
I go through her.
It's so relatable.
Knife through butter. fits like a glove.
Never had a worry. Right? Wait, no.
That's no. That is that more of a domino.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was domino. Yeah. I was thinking of fits like a glove off of Lick It Up.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, that's something like that. A real basic lick. It's a G lick, so it's pretty straight. But it stopped because when I go through her, it's just like a hot knife through butter. Yeah. So Gene made it a big to do live.
You can definitely picture Gene and just the hound he is, and with a tongue like that. I mean, how would you not be a hound?
It's like, stay over there. I'll meet you halfway.
Yeah, and I just picture him like some girl, what's your name, dear? And then she bends over and he's like, I don't know what your name was. It doesn't matter. Come here.
Well, I was going to say, because it'd almost be funny, like, hey, I'd really like to know your name. My name is, that was rhetorical. Sorry.
Right.
Don't answer that. That's just evidence somewhere along the line. Don't answer that.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, man. Well, hopefully I get a chance to, well, of course, where are you located at?
I am in York, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because, obviously Ted went ahead, and of course that was our connection.
Yeah, I appreciate Ted. I appreciate that.
Yeah, great guy. I still hope to maybe do something with, with those guys. I went out, I did some recording with them, and some stuff, probably, I'm sure it was at least 6 months ago now. But anyway, yeah, hopefully I'll either, if I come up that way, then maybe, how far away from him living wise, do you know? You said you're in York?
I'm in York. I feel like, where's he at?
He's up past Chambersburg.
Yeah. I'm a wedding DJ too, so I get to, well, kinda, play with I'm more of like the coordinator, like, hey everybody, here's what we're gonna do tonight, and whatever. I got you. So I get to play songs that, I get the feeling when you put on a song and nobody dances. Yeah, I've done that. That's not my song that I'm playing, but
have the next one queued up and you kind of like, all right, half of that. There you
go. Yeah.
Or you just kind of go, whatever. I'm not going to try to second guess everything. I'll just play it. Yeah. They don't want to dance. They don't want to dance.
And there's songs that, stand the test of time, like September is a big one.
Man, killer tune.
Every wedding, good lead off, September, Brick House,
Oh, wait, what about I'm sorry, being the key of G.
Yep.
So that could either be, of course, I Want You Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Sorry, guitar stuff. Or of course, Celebration.
Yep. Celebrations is one that people hear. It's fun to, kind of like you playing a song. I get the power of playing something and then watching people and go, okay, and wait for them to recognize it, Yeah.
Well, exactly.
That's the fun.
Can you care enough to hopefully be, it's like, I want people to dance. I want them to have a good time. I mean,
that's what makes me
your way, but
I'm still new to it.
I'm
going into my second year doing it, but you said Chambersburg, and I was up there. It's a dip, up over the Blue Mountains, like, ugh.
I got
that's not fun.
I got you.
But
I mean, the whole DJ stuff. I mean, again, if you like it, some people really enjoy it. Some people do it because they go, man, it's great money, But if you're a musician, obviously you kind of go, can I make money doing this or whatever, doing this? Obviously, most people,
unfortunately,
I want to do one, but I kind of have. Yeah.
And that's where it is. I love music, in a whole, which is why I started this. I started this last April. Nice. I've known a bunch of people in bands, and so it's fun to have guys like you on and just get people to hear something different. That's not on the radio. That's that's out there that they just don't know about. That's what I get a kick out of doing this as a musician, and I feel like I have a little bit of a different perspective as a musician over 20 some years. Not that I've made it as far as you, but I get to live through you. So I appreciate that.
Aim higher. That's what I always like to tell everybody. Aim higher. I appreciate, and I be honest with you, I appreciate the same thing that anybody takes the time and interest to even go ahead and do something. I love doing this kind of stuff too. And And plus, like I said, you get to meet other people that probably you're going to end up, becoming friends with, unless for some reason we just kind of, hey, you put it out and blah, blah, blah. And that was the worst. That was the worst watch thing I've ever done. Lose my number. Okay. It could be one of
That's why I get bummed out when like I make these and then somebody doesn't watch, right? Not as many people because I want to get it out, and I feel like now that you and I have done this, you're part of my family, my podcast family. So, and I'm going to promote the hell out of it. So,
and I will absolutely be, of course, I'll share it, even from a business standpoint or whatever like that. All of us right now, we're all struggling to do whatever we can, not just because of COVID, but because what we do. Yeah. So, it's like, man, because, you could imagine that if Sebastian Bach goes, hey, I want to go ahead and let's do an interview and I'll put it over my thing so everybody will see. You're like, yes, so you're guaranteed that. So yeah, it's networking, however you want to say it. So it's win-win for everybody. But to me, it's just kind of fun. And I think people like to go ahead and watch it because they're never the same end results for anything. So, yeah, whenever you send it to me, I'll certainly be spreading it to all my minions, and I'll put it on Friends of Solo Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So.
See, because I feel like, I try to just be humble and normal and have a nice, normal conversation, and that's what I like.
What is
and
terrible
hopefully that carries through, because I'd like to make this bigger. I do care about this podcast and money or whatever. It's not that. It's just getting people's names out and, helping out a little bit.
Did you hear what I said, though?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
What a terrible attitude. That's just terrible.
I'm sorry.
I know somebody will say something like that. Man, I really like your song. And I'll be like, piss off. And like, I'm sorry. Did I type something wrong? Like, nah, dude, it's just me. I'm stupid like that. So, again, have fun. Don't be serious. I'm very serious about my music, quite frankly. Because I want it to be the best it can be that I can do it. And I hold everybody else up accordingly wise, So, I mean, I'm sure you've seen other people interview and you kind of go, oh, maybe that's how I'll start to do it. Or you get ideas from people who you admire and think are good at what they do. So you can pick up stuff and then you look at your videos from 2 years ago. You're like, wow, progression. You hope, Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm striving for every time.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So here's a quick question for you. So I've seen and I think I saw it on the TV commercial. It's where the mom's doing all the live, the videos and all that stuff. And the daughter's over there on the phone like, Mom, you're killing me here. But the mom has like a round circle, almost like it'd be like a makeup light to light your makeup real well. Of course, I'm using like literally lamps and whatever else I got to try to light up anything. Do you know anything about those? Like, do you know if other people use them? I'm like, oh yeah. So if you buy one, obviously then it gives you straight on. It gives you a nice soft lighting. Do you know anything about?
Actually, my daughter, who's on social media all the time, gave me this little thing. Well, I kind of took it from her. This is kind of one of those.
I gotcha.
It literally plugs in micro USB, like a phone charger.
Okay.
And I think this is you can clip it on. It gives you that nice. You can adjust it.
If you hold that up in front of your or over top of your camera, but over top of it. So I want to see how it works on your face. If you just hold it up over top of it, see if it does the job.
See, and let's see. There's different. There's I'm pale as hell, so
I was about to say,
I look like powder.
Nature friendly ghost.
Yeah. Hey guys. So for some people this would be okay. It gives you that nice little glow on your eyes. That's the only thing I think was cool. I'm in a dark room just trying to make something look decent.
I got you.
So that's the brightest. So it just depends.
Okay.
And where you put it.
So that actually is the thing. Then I need to kind of look at it because I just like to look the best they can and try to make it work.
I mean, this literally is just like this is probably the simplest version of it, but it's LED, a little clip on the back, real simple.
Okay. Nice. What are they called, or do you know?
What's that?
Do you know what
I think it's a halo light.
Halo. Okay. All right. Well, that would make sense.
Look for halo, social media, podcasting light. You know what I mean? A lot of TikTok and all that. Like they use these, and for their interviews, or it's a brighter, little bit of bigger one.
Okay,
It
yeah.
does the same.
I'm thinking the other ones, yeah, more like a size.
Yeah, but honestly,
maybe disperses
for
it.
zooms and stuff,
Okay.
this, works pretty good.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm definitely going to check that out. So I'll let you know whenever I get it. Like, hey, cool.
Yeah.
And,
all right, man. So we've talked for almost 2 hours. So
wowsy. Sorry about that.
Time's fun. No, I'm good. Hopefully YouTube doesn't kick me off. I don't know. It's been too long. No.
There you go. So much for that editing thing then, right?
So yeah, I'm gonna keep it balls to the wall. We're gonna live off the cuff. If you're good with it, I'm good with it. So why don't you tell people where you can be found, where they can find So Low and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I know it should be like super duper easy. I'm the worst at trying to keep things up. I mean, I'll go ahead and I'll put up a band website, a .com thing, and then I just kind of fade away from it, either due to lack of personal interest or whatever. It's just honestly, it's much easier to go ahead and do the Facebook thing. So you can certainly find me on there. Not too difficult to actually find. I think it's actually like Dean Cramer .7, or of course you do the typical thing of just pull it up and see what happens. You'll find me there. And then Friends of Solo. If you go ahead and you do that, you can join our little gang.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just people who like to kind of hang out.
That's cool.
Similar likes and stuff. Of course, we get a lot of funny money people from there, KIX fans.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it's one thing leads to another, kind of what we were talking about, that once you make connections, then it's like, well, that's nice to go and bring it in there. Those honestly would probably be the easiest and best ways just to find me personalized. If you wanted to shoot me a message and need a link, I'll be happy to go and do that. But if you look for the band wise specifically, look for Friends of Solo, and you can spell it. Make sure you separate the two words, which, by the way, real quick, if you ever see it in print, you'll see Solo is always capital letters. But if you look at the actual logo, it's all lowercase letters.
I thought that too. Yeah.
So my friend is a graphic designer as well. That's what he does. So we were trying to come up, with kind of like a design, T-shirt design and stuff. So he came up with the idea and shot me, probably like 4 different things, get my input on it. And I'm like, well, it's kind of weird with everything being lowercase. Again, I print it up. So it does. I think it looks better and it sticks out better. Just kind of the shout thing. So, it's funny because even if I do like KIX, I'll say, hey, KIX and Solo are playing together. It'll be KIX SOLO. And I don't want anybody to sit there and trying to think like, hey, dude, come on. It's a KIX show. It's like, I know. But they normally write like that. I could have wrote it as capital letters. Wouldn't have made a difference. But always, whenever I do write it, even if it's among band people or post, Solo will always be capital because I think it looks better like that. But if you look at the logo, it actually looked better. So we tried it with a capital S and a capital L. Yeah. Tried it all caps. It looked better as lowercase everything. So that's why the logo is smaller. And then you'll see it everywhere else. So most people don't bother to make it caps whenever they type it.
Yeah.
Even the other guys in the band don't do that. But just as a stupid little thing like that. I know.
That's cool though.
Yes, but buy the CD.
Yes.
Which, by the way,
good.
That girl on there, the same guy who actually designed the Solo logo itself, is the guy who put together the artwork. His name's Sean Frederick. Lives down in Raleigh. Sean Frederick and the girl, he was looking for stuff that we could go ahead and use for a cover because we thought Put It On Your Lips would kind of be cool. And purple is my favorite color, so that's why it's purple. But that girl is actually somebody from, I think, Helsinki. He went and he did a lot of those just kind of generic search, found her, found out, who she was, and said, hey, we're doing this for a record. Do we mind if you use your image?
That's cool.
And she's like, yeah, go ahead and use it. So that was that. And then another useless fact. So on the back of the record, which again, So that's Justin Parks. He was a guitar player. He joined shortly after the record was done. That's Ed. He's the bassist. Same thing. And then Murray, standing beside me, is actually our current drummer. And again, he joined after the record was already recorded. So unfortunately, I'm the only one who's actually playing on it. And then what's cool is the background of this. Whenever you look at it, it reminds me of the inside of Van Halen 1984, where the inside sleeve, you're like, what are these little chromey looking things? Of course, they were the top of lights because everybody.
Oh, yeah, those lights.
You know, but anyway, so if you look at the back of that, it's like, what's those things? Well, Murray's family owns Western Maryland Distribution, who sells beer in Western Maryland. So that was actually in his warehouse. So if you look at it, I'm not sure cool. Pictures either. So those are kegs all stacked up behind there. So it's a huge warehouse. So we took a bunch of our promo shots in there. Sometimes you can see kegs behind it. But anyway, so that's kind of what we use for it. But anywho. So
all right, buddy.
All right, dude. Hey, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, man.
Whatever you need, let me know if I can do it. You got it.
Yeah, man. I'd love to. You know, I don't know if I'm up to your standard, but if you ever want to jam and you need another left-handed drummer.
well, hey, get working, mister.
I would love to get fired by you. It would be amazing. So
it's funny. I don't think I've never fired anybody from the band, which is funny. I think everybody just kind of goes, you want too much or something, you know. It's time to move on. And so I think you're safe from that.
Either way.
You know, I put it this way though. I'll just probably go. I never actually said you got the gig. You don't need to be here next week.
I'll just take my sticks and go home. Sorry.
That's right. It's like wait. Yeah, you left a stick over there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I've been in those positions.
how funny. He's like, hey, Nate, why you looking me straight in the eye, boy? You eyeballing me, boy?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's in the confidential.
That's funny.
Notice never once does anybody look at me. Avert thy gaze. I think that's what it says. Avert thy gaze.
Like Medusa. Don't look at Dean.
That's right. If you're gonna look me in the eye, see me in the bathroom. What? Never mind.
Whoa.
Good stuff. All
right, buddy. Well, thanks for hanging with Nate the drummer.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was a great time.
Yeah, man, I'll send you the links and we'll go from there. Hope everybody enjoys it. And I got a bunch of tracks on my Anchor podcast too that I'm going to put on. So,
yeah, man, like I said, I'm more than happy
to double dip.
I appreciate that. And again, I'm happy to. You can tag me in anything, not just stuff with me. Tag me. I'm happy to go ahead and share it, man. I have zero problem helping out other people. I think if somebody's making an effort,
I appreciate that.
So don't forget to go and tag me.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too, Dave.
See you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. That was Dean Cramer. Great guy. Hope everybody enjoys that. I hope you sit for the whole thing because if you want to find out music from somebody who knows it and who's been there, Dean Cramer has been there. You heard it. He played with some legends. So check him out, guys. Check out anchor.fm/N8 the drummer for music from him, from his band Solo. So space LOW. All right, guys. Till next time, I really thank everybody for watching. Please support music. Pass this on. And keep the dream alive. Rock on.
Hanging with Nate the drummer.